Number 2 in the playoff rankings, Georgia, number 1 in the AP, is hosting Missouri. Now, Missouri's kind of a hot team coming in, although Vegas does not see it that way. Georgia's a 15.5-point favorite at home, the over-under of 54.5. Missouri is ranked 14th in the AP poll and 12th in the new college football playoff rankings. I think this is actually going to be a good game. This is the only game that Georgia really struggled with last year. Although that was last year, it doesn't really mean much. But Quinn, I would love to hear your thoughts first.
So let's start with Missouri. The season they're having this year, really, really good. And I want to throw it back to the summer. I was listening to Greg McElroy's show, his radio show with Colt Kublik, and they spent a good 40 minutes talking about how Greg McElroy thought that Missouri could be like a dark horse contender for the whole SEC. And it's because they're loaded with senior talent. And it's kind of come true this year. I mean, you got big marquee win over Kansas State, big marquee win over Kentucky, and then a close game that they should have or could have won against LSU. Georgia, on the other hand, hadn't really been tested this year, but I'll say this. When they played the one good team on their schedule in Kentucky, they blew Kentucky out of the water. All right. This is a similar deal for me as Kentucky coming into town. You're ranked. You're coming to play Georgia in their stadium in a season where the only legitimate football team they've played all year is Kentucky. You're going to get curbed. Georgia's going to win this game very comfortably. I've got them by 18.
Wow.
All right. Well, Georgia's been making me mad this year because I'm like, hey, this is gonna be an off game for them, and then they go out and beat Kentucky by what was it, 40? It felt like. Then I was like, oh, dude, they played Vandy. That's 100 points right there. They only beat Vandy by 17 at Vandy. Maybe it's because they lose Brock Bowers in the middle of the game. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'll give them that. And then it's like Florida. I was like, okay. And we kind of talked a little bit last week. Billy Napier, kind of a statement game. Try not to lose by 40, right? You're going to lose, but not by 40. And you come out and you beat them by 23, no Brock Bowers, you look great, right? And so now you have a legitimate team, I believe, in Missouri coming out of the East, who I'm guessing is probably the second team in the East right now, right behind Georgia. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know. Should be, yeah, because I think Tennessee has 2 losses, Florida has 2. But Missouri they are actually loaded. They got Luther, forget his last name, LB3. I know that. Then you got Brady Cook. They have a lot of great defensive talent as well. Press the buzzer. We're going Mizzu this game. I think Mizzu goes into Sanford Stadium. I think they play really, really, really well. Arkansas Austin got on here a few weeks ago, said circle that game, and I've been thinking about it ever since he said that. There's a lot of games left on Georgia's schedule. I think it's going to be a combination of you're lacking your star power, your Heisman guy, and Brock Bowers. And then this is the perfect store for Missouri. And then you also have Georgia probably looking ahead to the Tennessee game in a week or two. I forget which week it is. I think this is Missouri's time to strike. Kentucky, we knew Kentucky was going to be limited. We were hoping their defense was going to keep it close. I think Missouri can go in, can play really good ball, get pressure on Carson Beck, and then also their offense can move the ball. Kentucky's offense, I think we took for granted a little bit. We thought they could move the ball. Goodness gracious, this Brady Cook-led offense, I think, will be able to move the ball against this Georgia defense. I think they're going to get a stunner here in Sanford. Freddie?
Wow. Georgia's winning this football game, but they're not covering the 15.5. I do not think that they're going to cover the 15.5. That's a lot of points for somebody that's ranked in the top 15. And I would be more comfortable betting the over 54.5 than I would Missouri to upset Georgia here. I just think that Missouri's just outmanned. Now, yes, they have a lot of seniors. They've had a great year up to this point, and even if they get beat by Georgia, by no stretch of the imagination is that going to derail the success that Missouri has had so far this year. Quinn, you brought it up. They should have beaten LSU. Firm believer in that. That was a heck of a ball game. And if they did, then they're undefeated and sitting in the top 10 probably right now. Think about that. But they're not. There's still a one-loss team. Still, and they are tied in the East. So this game will ultimately decide who goes to Atlanta. More likely than not. I mean, Georgia still has to play Ole Miss. So even if they lose this and get beat by Ole Miss, Georgia wins, but Missouri covers the spread. That's my final prediction. And if I was a betting man, I'd pick the over the 54.5.
And real quick before we get out of here, I want to point out Georgia's got a tough November. They've got this game with Missouri, then they've got Ole Miss, then they got Tennessee on the road, and then they got Georgia Tech at the end of the year on the road, who has been one of the most bizarre football teams in the sport. So
right,
it's true.